Hello and welcome back to another episode of, or should I say episodes of Most Searched, and to our 3 subscribers, or to our 3 viewers, apart from our 22 subscribers. Thank you for watching. Today we have another wild card, and if he was a McDonald's burger, they'd call him the Big Mac, largely because he gets up to a lot of interesting things. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bakludi.
Hey, what it do, baby? Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to get it going, to get it on.
Next topic is, we're going to talk about the Mulan movie that has been released. Yeah, so it's finally been released. Obviously, we know it is a live action remake of the Disney movie that was released in 1998. They're claiming that it's an historic debut, large for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that it is an all-Asian cast, albeit American Asian as well as just Asian. It's also the other part that they say could be revolutionary to the whole Hollywood or movie industry is that it is being released over Disney Plus, which is a streaming service. And this is largely because of the effects of COVID and the pandemic. So what they're doing is they're releasing it via the service, but you're paying an additional $30, which equates to 500 Rand to watch it. So there's also another movie that's being released by Warner Brothers, and that's a sci-fi movie called Tenet. And the difference in, if we're looking at a strategic perspective, we're going to talk more about the movie now, but just from a strategy perspective, is that Tenet, firstly, aren't going to get that many people coming to the cinemas or theaters, and they're going to have to split all revenue with theaters. Whereas in this case, if Mulan is successful, all profits go straight to Disney. So that's one of the things that they're saying could be revolutionary, could be historic. And the other thing is that the movie is huge because it was $200 million US dollars spent on this whole ethnic cast, as they claim it to be. And yeah, that's for now. I don't know. What are you guys thinking about this so far?
Well, my point of view, already, as you said, you have to pay for the movie. So I just said my connection's unstable. Already you have to pay for the movie. And I know Disney, you have to pay for the subscription. So to me, I don't have Disney already. It seems like they're doubling down. And we've had movies that went specifically to streaming sites, like The Irishman went to Netflix. So I think that is a better avenue. You don't have to get up, don't have to go to the cinema. It's a positive and negative. You don't have to get up, go to the cinema. You have direct access to it. But the negative is you also miss out. And I don't have a home theater at home. I'm watching on this small laptop. So you also miss out, on the whole making an event, the sound, the vision, the images, the popcorn, you miss out on that. And as far as, that's my point of view so far.
So I have a lot to say because of, based on the fact this is the kind of stuff I follow and studied and whatnot. But in terms of the historicness of it, yeah, it is. It was, if I were correct, it was majority filmed in China. But if you don't know, apart from I'll get to that point, the Disney thing. So, yeah, look, I feel kind of what Netflix has done, which is the correct way. Amazon's doing the same thing. Amazon Prime, which is you're already paying for a subscription like HBO Max. There is no need to charge excessively more because they can already budget based on the subscription fees per month, what they're making. So they can, like Netflix, all they do is they decrease the amount of productions they're doing for a period of time. That way they don't run over costs. Then they can just see, we're making few hundred million this month. Just don't do these 3 productions. So with the Disney thing, I agree with him. I don't see the necessity to spend an extra $500 to see a movie because in the end, that isn't what it would cost when I go to the movies. Even if I go to Prestige and buy popcorn, I'll still only spend about maybe $200, $250. With the movie feel, yes, I agree that there's an atmosphere and a nostalgic thing you get from going to the movies. Even though it became a normality, it was still an event on a small scale. Now, if you go to the cinemas, you sit diagonally. They've cut the rows like that. So it's every second seat in every direction. So that's the weird part. But I have other things to say, but we'll get to those things once you say your part.
No. So if we're just looking from a strategic point of view and them charging an extra 500 Rand just to watch on top of the service that you're already paying, I suppose the one advantage that they have, and Warren seems like he's frozen. I don't know if he's still there, but clearly you're still there, though.
You guys froze.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool.
There, you froze as well on my side.
Oh, okay, cool. So the strategic thing is they are using the pandemic to their advantage in this scenario, and I don't know if it will be a complete disaster from this perspective. I think if the conditions, I mean, look, if the conditions weren't as they are, or the environment wasn't the way it is at the moment, it wouldn't be happening this way. But at the same time, I think it could be beneficial to them, like you guys mentioned, the Netflix sort of strategy. But if we're going to look into the movie itself, and this is where what Claudio said I thought was an interesting point is the movie being cinematic, and you also mentioned, Warren, the atmosphere when you're attending a movie. Apparently, according to critics, this movie in particular, there's no Mushu, the Eddie Murphy character, so the baby dragon. That dragon's not there.
This was the side I was going to get to.
Yeah, so that's not there. That's not there. So the musicals aren't there, which is also pretty interesting. So from that perspective, it's not a Disney movie. And there aren't any romantic subplots. And they said there's poor character development. So they said it's very action-based and it's very cinematic from that perspective. And they said they've gone the Universal Marvel sort of route, which again begs to the point that Claudio mentioned, is that in that scenario, if you're not watching this at the cinema, is it really going to be worth, especially if that's what the emphasis of this movie is it really going to be worth watching it on your computer screen or on your home TV?
Well, to answer a couple of those things you said, or at least add on to them, they basically took the heart and soul of what made Mulan, which was Mushu, and they took out the singing and the love plots and everything. And the reason apparently that was done was because I don't know if it's me that makes little weird sounds, but it's you can hear it.
Yeah. It's cool.
I don't know what it is.
Continue.
I don't know what it is. Okay, I don't know what it is. Anyway, I'm hearing shit in my headset. But anyway, they took it out apparently because the East or Chinese government or community, however you want to word it, whichever one it was, felt that Mushu wasn't the right representation of what a dragon actually is, like the strong, overpowering magical being. And Mushu was more fumbly around, jokey. And it's telling me the meeting will end in 10 minutes. You relax, okay? And that's part of it. And they took away the singing, which is a big thing of Disney. It's what all the kids fell in love with. Not fell in love with, but it's what that drew us in, And that's part of it. You talk about superheroes thing is because now suddenly Mulan has like magical abilities, like her chi. She now can like garner inner strength in a sense and do magical, like certain heroic things. And they're like, she didn't need that in the first place. That wasn't the point. She was a strong female character that fought for a specific reason. And that was her power, the belief and everything it went through. So, yeah, by the way, there's a lot of online talk about boycott and everything for the movie.
Yes.
By the way.
Which is the next thing. So now we're talking, they said one of the things the strategy
Let him say his
worked.
point. He hasn't said anything.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you say your point. Sorry.
I actually didn't know all of that about the new Mulan. But I think what they're trying to do, as you guys mentioned, following Marvel, DC sort of, is they're trying to adapt to the times, which I'm not necessarily against. I'm interested to see how it pans out. But personally, those things that they took out, because I don't believe Mulan was a very strong movie. And I think that's because personally I feel there was too many sort of like plot holes in my head. I overanalyzed it. Whereas, a lady joining the army, which she's perfectly well. A lady, I understand it's, women empowerment. Ladies can do everything men can do, 100%. I'm on board with that. But joining the army, where's this lady at, for instance, going to the toilet? Just a small example like that. So many things don't fit in my head. And a cute looking man, let's say a cute looking man, I'm already suspect, in the barracks. I'm already
Right, because you want to jump his boat. You want to jump his boat, is that why?
No, not even. Like, I'm just suspect. You know what I'm saying? So
when you see a pretty man, you're like,
when I see,
when you see a pretty man. Oh, my screen froze.
Look at him.
My screen froze.
Anyway. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So already with those plot holes, what also brought it together and made it seem, not so me focusing on such things like that was again like the dragon, this singing, the humor about it, making it almost friendly. Whereas now with the angle they're going for, I think it's a different target market as well. And it seems not as gullible and not gullible,
naive,
and you know what I'm saying? Get caught in the magic of it all.
It's not as
seem,
fantastical.
Yeah.
So
So they obviously the tone is a lot darker, a lot more serious. That's what they're going for. But they really wanted to like bring out put the emphasis on like the whole war scene. I think that was the focus of the directors, like creating these really beautiful cinematic war images, as opposed to, and that's one of the, to your point though. So you might actually enjoy this movie, Bakudi, because they said from a character development perspective, that is pretty shallow. So they kind of sum up the whole story. I think what they've done is based on what Warren is talking about, also like the whole Chinese culture thing, they've taken into consideration, they've thought, okay, we know what the original is. We know how the story pans out. We're not going to really place a lot of emphasis on this. We're going to go the whole, like you said, to the time, very cinematic, very big, explosive, and. But again, then it begs the question, is this the right strategy then to be releasing it on a Disney Plus? And to the boycotts that are happening currently, it's currently being boycotted in Thailand, Hong Kong, and which the other countries, Taiwan.
But,
largely because two of the actors,
I was just saying, besides them, at the end of the credits, from what I understand, they said thanks to 2 or 3 Chinese companies or something like that, and they fall into the communist propaganda machine.
Yeah,
and that's part of why there's
this. Yeah, and this is where the boycotts are coming from. The boycotts are actually coming from pro democracy activists. And two of the other reasons on top of the credits is that the main actor, Lia Yifei, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, obviously saw a journalist getting beaten up by Hong Kong police. So I think she put up a very sarcastic remark on Twitter saying, yeah, no, she agrees with what's happening. But I don't think that's what the intent was. But the pro-democracy activists were like, screw this chick. And then the other on top of all of this, the co-star, Donnie Yee, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Probably not.
Also celebrated the 23rd. Yeah, probably not. He celebrated the 23rd anniversary of Hong Kong's return to China from British colonial rule. And that's also, they're like, well, screw that shit. We're not in agreement with this. Anything that supports China, we're against. So let's boycott the movie. So they said, cool, this is great, because the movie is actually being released in theaters in China, by the way, in the Asian market, just not in the Western market, because they're saying movement's a lot more freer post COVID.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's happening now. It's pretty interesting. I don't know, Pakludi, in terms of this whole activist perspective, I don't know, do you know much as to what's going on there in terms of their whole argument is that if you're in Hollywood, you've got center stage. So your actions should be accountable. And they're saying these Asian representatives, although being historical in terms of an all Asian cast, they have a lot more responsibility, almost like the footballers we're talking about. So why are they just being reckless with their comments?
Okay. Again, it's almost a similar sentiment. But I have another question to pose to you, right? And this is also you got me on another tangent from what you said. Should then the guys behind, the money guys, the studios producing the film, should they stand side by side with the cost, or should they go with the film and the profits? And I say that because I was thinking about Star Wars, like the Star Wars, when it came out, apparently, Finn, the character Finn, who's a black guy, apparently the market there in China is not that big or they're not on for black guys. Let me say that. Apparently, I don't know. So with the posters, they said when they ever marketed it in China, Finn's character was like decreased, like in the actual poster, right? So now I ask you, right? Should the studios themselves back their characters again? If my character's tweeting whatever, or should I back my film and say, hey, listen, dude, like cut it, like this is the job, this is the brand, or what do I say? You're a person. Which angle should they take?
I'll jump on that. We have not a lot of time, so we might have to continue this once we stop it. But it kind of works both ways. It's like a double-edged sword, because you expect the actors to push the movie and support the studio and the producers, and it should be they should reciprocate. So the producers and the studio should be behind the actors, and obviously the project, because you obviously, it's a business, you need to make money. So you push your product of what you think will make the most money and the best way to make the money on a business side. But in terms of it's like hiring the best salesman, and then you expect him to sell for the company, but as soon as one customer has a clash with him, you immediately throw him under the bus. You're like, hey, but you want me to be there for the company, but you're not there for me when I'm trying to stand for something specific. So I think it's a bit of both. As I was saying, I get what you're saying. I think that's part of the dilemma that happens with the world where they're right now. Is you've got the one side of the world which is pro, speech, pro uplifting people, better work, all the kind of thing. The Western world, equal rights for everything. But then when it comes to the Hollywood and the movie industry, they pander to the more communistic regime of China and do something like that, which is squish which was supposed to be a main character till the second film came out, and they squish his role even physically on a poster. Never mind anything. That's like the big conundrum that happens. So it's the case of, yes, push to make as much money as you can, because otherwise, if you lose money, you can't, continue. But at the same token, support your cast, because they're the reason people are watching. They're the reason people will come back. In any case, so at least that's how I feel, regardless of it. So I don't know what you think.
I don't know. I like the combination of both your arguments there. I mean, you've got the one where clearly saying, cool, do the studios back the actors, and then you saying, well, the studios actually adjust whatever their marketing is, whatever the communication is to the audience so they can obviously make sales. What's quite interesting in this scenario is that they are claiming to be diversified and saying that they've got an all Asian cast. And I like when I read the article, they said Asian/Asian American. Now, what's interesting about this is that I think, I stand corrected, but it's probably the Asian Americans that are the ones that have infuriated the Asian population in China, if that makes sense. So that, again, is a discrepancy in cultural understanding. And again, saying what you're saying from a Western understanding, we are very pro thought, pro voice, pro all these other things. And like, from how I understood it, is that one of the actors' comments was misinterpreted. So again, it's a conversation where you're saying, okay, it's catering to a market, but then it's also backing your actors. But at the same time, you all got to remember that if they are taking these actors and they're putting them on the platform, if the studio is making the decision that I'm going to go with Pakludi as my lead actor, they understand that by making the Pakludi their lead actor, they are going to elevate him as an actor. They're going to elevate his brand, and it's a huge opportunity for him. So in that case, they've made a decision that they're going to back him. So they should be backing him. Then the next thing is, then how do they guide him to avoid making mistakes like the ones that have been made, if that makes sense? So there is a responsibility that I think should go hand in hand. And to your point, I think it's a good point, Pakludi.
I think also, because we're talking about movies here, we're not talking about people running for elections. So in terms of being accountable for anything, you get what I'm saying? They can't really be held accountable in any sense, or even they don't have any morals that they need to keep. It's just a movie business. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day. So I feel, if the people at the whole, the owners of the theaters and the studios, the owners of the studios are not saying anything or not standing for anything in particular, all this will continue. It's not going to make a difference anyway. In the same way, the great thing that I liked about Mulan was that it was all Asian, or as you say, American Asian cast. That's a great thing, because growing up personally, I've seen plenty of movies where it's just white dudes in there, like just white dudes.
Or Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai.
Yeah.
How's Tom Cruise The Last Samurai? Honestly,
because it's damn Tom Cruise, and it's because he's clone number 306 from Scientology. That's why they can make him whatever they want.
That's why he does all his own stunts. Because every time he disappears or he gets injured, they just replace him with another clone.
When the camera cuts, they open up a tube and they bring out another Tom Cruise. That's it. We need this one.
No, but really, it's a good thing. And that's why I'm also partly disheartened about this entire sort of boycotting sort of angle. Because now what's going to happen, the studios, as I said, they're not accountable. They're not going to make the profits that they usually would make. Then they're going to think, oh, we're not making profits because we said all Asian cast. So now we're going to go back to just white dudes. And I mean, that's not how it's growing.
I have a question to pose now is, The conundrum you've got here now is if you look at the movie Crazy Rich Asians, which was an all Asian cast, it did extremely well. Mulan hasn't. So, okay, that's
well, it's still early.
I'm saying
still
it's
early,
premature, but in terms of response, it's not doing well. Where Crazy Rich Asians, which I watched, I enjoyed. I thought it was well done as actors that I know, and there's, I would say, a good chunk was Asian American and Chinese or Japanese, whatever the case may be, and that movie did really well. So, what I'm trying to understand or figure out from people's reaction on the negative side is it purely because, like the Lion King, when they made the live action version, it quote unquote sucked the soul out of the original. And is that why people are upset with Mulan, because it took away that fantastical point of view? Or is it just because we're in that time where it's not cool unless you're upset about something?
No, man, I think it comes down to, it's the same as me, say, being a Portuguese South African as opposed to being a Portuguese citizen. So I think it's Portuguese. Like, you get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's that understanding where I'm saying, hey, I'm Portuguese, but at the end of the day, if I'm producing something and be like, but hang on, this bloke's got a different view. He's not agreeing to our viewpoint, but he's actually from that side. So how can he stand and say the same things and he's not really supporting us, but he's claiming to be this thing? And I think that's why the boycotting is happening. But I like what Claudio is saying, is that it is so detrimental because, like you said, they're not going to be looking specifically at the pandemic and all these other consequences that would lead to the possible negative downfall of the film. They would say, they would jump to the conclusion it was an all Asian cast, so we can't do that next time. Next time we're going to have an all Asian cast with Tom Cruise. So like, that is highly detrimental, and that's the situation where in these scenarios there should be some sort of upliftment and a celebratory point where it's like, well, this is great. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate the movie for what it is. And like we can speak about, these movies shouldn't be compared. Why have they remade them? They've remade them because it's nostalgic. We in that era now with 90s is the thing, 80s is the thing. Hence my background. So it is nostalgic, but the director himself doesn't want to be compared to that. So he wants to have his original take. And we also know that Disney movies are this big thing, again, to what Claudio was saying, huge, theatrical, and. So that's the brief the guy followed. Is it going to meet it? Those sort of movies seem to have done well with the Marvel universe. So they're probably following the same blueprint. Obviously, based on what the outcome will be, will determine how they move forward. Yeah.
So, Claudio, just with what you were saying with regards to how everyone's sort of going to like reboots and remakes. Already, if you're doing any sort of reboot, remake, Warren, just to say, like, it's not necessarily people just being angry to be angry or like making it just to dislike. Already, if you're making a reboot or remake, already it's hot. Like, it's already hot on the collar, like just from day one. Day one.
Well, the expectation's high. Yeah. It's to your point, the expectation's a lot higher, but this is the thing that I always have arguments with Warren. It's like, and I think it's fantastic. I think when the time is right and when when the stars align, for example, when you're talking about, which is the reason, like they're making The Matrix, for example, it's been a long time. I get it. It's been a while. So you could argue Keanu Reeves is like super, super hot right now. So it makes sense. The timing is right. But my thing is that Hollywood has kind of taken a backseat and they're relying on a lot of these old great classics. And they're hoping that the significance of that film, like you said, the collar's hot. They're relying on that collar being hot still with a different twist, as opposed to coming up with something original that we can then remake in the future. And I think there's a lot more less original content being made as opposed to just readdressing it.
Well, if you look at the money side of things, just income wise, it's pretty much because of that. You look at if you look at all superhero franchises, basically, they're all not all, but majority, a good 90%, are money makers. So they're like, okay, cool, check that off the list. We can make something along that route. Then you make something that's nostalgic. Check, that makes money. Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Toy Story 4, all that kind of stuff. Check it off the list. Then you go original. Okay, who's made an original movie that's worked? Probably I can't remember now. The Quiet Place. That's one. The Quiet Place. Then you got Christopher Nolan, and they're like, okay, that lost money. Yes, it won an Oscar, but it lost money. And that's kind of where the problem's coming in is the originals that are coming out or have come out the last couple of years have failed financially. So you steer to what makes money, even though there are some remakes and stuff that have fallen flat, like Ghostbusters 2016 with the all-female cast thing, the Charlie's Angels that did flop. But if you throw a coin 9 out of 10 times, it's going to make money, nostalgic and superhero. And that's what they're looking at. So if you look at Mulan, yes, theoretically it should make money. And I agree, we shouldn't be complaining, or people shouldn't be complaining about the fact that little Eddie Murphy's not in it and whatnot. But for some reason, that's why I posed the question, why did Crazy Rich Asians do well and not, at least critically? And at the moment, Mulan is not. If it's based on a political point of view, that's different, but that shouldn't be a reason, if you get what I'm saying, in terms of escapism. Political influence shouldn't be a part of this escapism.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that sentiment. But there's two things I want to say before we move on. Is I blame Star Wars and I blame Pirates of the Caribbean for cooking for all these damn remakes and franchises and all the rest of it. And just before we move on, final verdict: is Mulan going to be an overall success? Yes or no?
If I'm being honest, guys, I'd love Mulan to be overall success. I don't know how much they spend on the budget, but to be
$200 million.
I doubt. I wish it was, but personally, I doubt.
200 million before marketing.
Yeah.
So you're looking at probably about $300 million, which means they have to make between 650 and 700 to break even. So yeah.
Right, so yes or no?
Let me ask you guys: are you guys going to watch Mulan? Wait, sorry. Are you guys going to watch it? Are you going to watch it in theater? Are you going to get Disney? Or are you going to watch the bootleg version on like Pirate Bay? You don't have to answer
Pirate Bay.
Piratis. We're going to see the Piratis version.
Where the person like stands up and goes to the bathroom, and you hear like a washing machine in the background. No, I'll probably go to cinemas. Like I'm gonna go watch Tenet this weekend at cinemas. It's only showing here in Sentinel, one other place, so I'll go watch it. I probably will. I won't do the Disney thing just purely because, one, I don't have Disney Plus. It's not really available here properly yet unless you do VPNs. But I'm not going to do that then spend more money to watch one film. I'm going to spend more money, then it should unlock Ultra HD collections, as an example. But I'll probably do cinemas because I am a movie guy. I enjoy them. I don't think it's going to make the money it needs, to be honest. China may kick it in the butt and go like, nah, we're supporting the shit out of this. There's 1 billion of us. We can make this work. But rest of the world-wise, I don't think it's going to do well everywhere else. Not that it matters.
So that's consequential. That's interesting. Is because if it is a success, right, and China goes, let's make this thing a success. What then will that do for Hollywood in terms of other future movies that they'll make, considering an all Asian cast? It's almost like we've got black cinema in the US. There's an actual specific name for it. Yeah?
Tyler Perry films.
Yeah, so sort of. There's actually a name for it. No, it's legit. There's an actual name for it.
I never heard it in my life.
I swear.
It's like a category, black films.
No, I forgot what it's called. Let me look it up quickly. But anyway, so there's that genre. There's a genre for it. There's a market for it. So I wonder if this will kickstart. I'm sure there is already a market for it, but a lot of that gets made in Asia. So I just wonder if this will expand that market in Hollywood.
It definitely would. If it's a success, it definitely would. You'll cater to your market. Same with, as you were mentioning, Tyler Perry and all these Madeas. I mean, he was once asked, like, why don't you make, movies that are like get recognized like by Oscars and stuff? Then he says, hey, bro, like, he knows his market. Like, he makes a movie for his people. He knows the people who are gonna enjoy it, and also he knows where his bread is buttered as well. So why doing other things now?
And then he does this. He goes, says I'm worth $200 million.
It's called it's called blaxploitation. That's what it's called.
Blaxploitation.
Like, no, it is. I studied this in film, dude. It's blaxploitation, or it is ethnic subgenre of exploitation film that emerged in the United States during the 1970s.
It's on Google, Claudio.
I feel like you're reading off. I feel like you're reading off a really, really white page. I feel like you.
All I know is that, and you could be right. It could be the wrong thing that was taught, but that's what I was taught. So it's like that's what they call it.
Hey, no, sure, I'll check it. I'll check it.
Yeah, check it out.
Well, in terms of the Chinese market, I'll end off with this. Besides the Asian cast, they're already marketing or catering for the Chinese market. It is the second largest market in the world, apart from America, in terms of film. Aquaman is an example. I think it was Aquaman. Aquaman and what Pacific Rim is an example. They actually made profit because of China, not because of America. So Aquaman became $1 billion movie because of China. It was never going to make there with America and the rest of the world. So they're catering for it already in films, but now obviously they're going full steam ahead with the casting and the directing and the writing and whatnot to cater for that as well. So yeah, just to end it off, there you go.
But I mean, what's interesting is they're catering for that market, but who's directing it and who's writing it?
No, it's still Asians. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Now they're pushing for Asian actors, Asian directors, female, whatever the case may be. So yeah, pushing.
Right. So I can't believe we spoke that long about Mulan, to be honest.
Are you gonna watch Mulan? You haven't answered the question. Are you gonna watch Mulan?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna watch it.
That was a no. Yeah, you go.
I'm gonna watch it when
that was such,
like
you just pulled a Judas. That's what you just did, right?
No. I don't often go watch things. I don't just do that. Like I've got to be up for it. I've got to feel for it. And right now I'm in between things, and I'm just like, yeah. So when I feel it, and I'm like, listen, growing up, Mulan was never like my movie. It wasn't something that I was super enthused about when it was showing. I was always just like, the baby dragon, Michi, whatever his name was, he was cute.
We just this guy. You just spoke about pro Asia. They're like, nah, I ain't watching shit.
Bro, like I said, it was never my movie. It was never my movie. So forgive me if I get the names wrong. But I'll watch it. Of course, I'll watch it when the time's right in my life, I guess. Well, are you gonna watch it?
To be honest, like it's looking like it's for Pirate Bay. You know what I mean? I don't think.
So it's a yes.
Money, unfortunately,
just not financially.
Yeah, but like. I wouldn't be supporting the movie. I would be supporting the movie.
You only supported them in spirit.
To be honest, I'll see if like Rotten Tomatoes and like it gets good reviews. I'm definitely gonna go like and check it out. I'll wait for the reviews.
I can tell you that.
I think that's a fair point.
But you can continue with the topic.